The core of the U.S. military is about to shrink. In 3 years' time, the number of U.S. Army soldiers will drop from 490,000 to 450,000. It's what the Pentagon is calling a necessary force reduction.
These cuts will impact nearly every Army installation, both in the continental United States and overseas.
The cuts come even as top generals are monitoring what they consider the most potent threats to the U.S.
My assessment today, Senator, is that Russia presents the greatest threat to our national security.
During the height of the U.S.-led wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, more than 570,000 soldiers were on the payroll. The Army says it'll save about $7 billion with these cuts, but its annual budget is still sizable at $126 billion. In fact, the U.S. spends more on defense in a year than the next 7 largest militaries combined. And even though Russia and China have more soldiers than the U.S., Washington spends about 5 times as much per service member as they do. And that means U.S. troops have better weapons and training. Some in Congress warn cutting troop levels is dangerous, even as the Army is threatening still deeper cuts in the coming years. Some analysts say it's not the size of the military, but how you use it.
I think that we ought to have an approach to our security and defense that allows us to have an even smaller Army than this, which is to not get into occupational warfare in countries like Iraq and Afghanistan. And if we did that, we can be safe with a much smaller Army than we have today.
The Obama administration says it wants to make better use of its defense dollars and is betting this isn't a security gamble. Rosiland, Al Jazeera, Washington.